Hello, everyone. It's Dion. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you are returning to my channel, welcome back. Today is my second Dion's Deal of the Day live show. And yesterday I explained how everything was going to work. And today I logged into the system to take a look at some deals and found something that I really felt like just couldn't be passed up, right? It's not a trip that I'll actually be able to take. But the pricing, the stops, and just everything that I think that a trip like this has to offer could definitely work out for people who are either on the West Coast or people who are already in Canada, because this is technically an international trip. Um, and so we are going to discuss this deal today. So I'm going to give everybody just a couple of more minutes and we'll start going through the details. Have you ever noticed that the longest minutes are the ones where you're actually watching the clock? So let's just go ahead and get started. So, again, thank you so much for joining for this cruise. This is actually on Princess. Yesterday I started out with a deal on Carnival, but this one is actually on Princess. And it's actually on a ship that I have sailed on. It's on the Emerald Princess, and it's a 6-day Pacific wine country sailing, which is going to depart on September the 8th of 2026. And you'll leave from Vancouver, Canada, with stops in Victoria, Canada, San Francisco, California, and Los Angeles, California. Now, with this particular sailing, an interior room starts at $379, but I actually have pricing for an ocean view, which is going to be obstructed in some way. It could be with a lifeboat, it could be railing, um, it could be the corners of the ship, right? But it's going to be an obstructed view, but it's coming in at $410 per person for a 6-day sailing. One thing that I appreciate about Princess, I know that they don't really say that they cater to an older crowd, but that's been my experience on the two ships that I have sailed with them. I've sailed with them on Sun Princess, which was only about a year old when I sailed on it in 2024. And then I was on Emerald Princess in 2025. And that was actually a transatlantic cruise that took us from Southampton, Southampton, England, and it said we had two stops in Spain, one stop in Portugal, and then we had like 6, 7, 8 days at sea in a row. I didn't really know how I was going to enjoy that because I had never been on a cruise that long. It was a 15-day cruise. And again, it was a transatlantic cruise, the first that I had ever done. And that trip was so extremely, it was an incredible trip. Number one, I went to a brand new continent. And although I've traveled a lot and internationally, I'd never been to a different continent. And so it was nice. And the stops that we had in Spain and Portugal were really nice as well. The ship, it was a large ship. I actually do have my footage I have on my YouTube channel. I have a lot of videos. One is actually showing my room. It was an obstructed room view, but we could see we had the lifeboat. A lifeboat was actually our obstruction, but we could see over the top of the lifeboat. And so we had all of this wonderful natural light. We had a good view, but it was a guaranteed ocean view room, which meant that Princess chose the room for us. And I was totally fine with that because it was the cheapest room on the ship at the time that I booked. And it just ended up being a wonderful surprise. And I say that because sometimes, people need for their cruise to be a certain way and to have certain things. And I just kind of want you to be aware that it is an obstructed room. We don't necessarily know what your view will be obstructed by or how much of an obstruction you will have, but it definitely is an obstructed view. Now, I've got a lot of footage for Emerald Princess on my YouTube channel. So I would definitely say, take a look because, you're going to see footage from the dining rooms and, different areas around the ship. But it definitely is a nice, large ship. It doesn't have all of the technology that I experienced on Sun Princess, but there wasn't anything about it that I missed, except for the smart elevators. Tell me what you think, because some people have been on ships where you didn't have the smart elevators, and the Sun Princess was my first opportunity to experience a smart elevator. And for those of you who may not know, what happens is you go up to the elevator, and on the outside there's a panel, and you press the panel to show what floor you need to get to. And then the elevator has little monitors, and it will show you which elevator you need to get on to go to that particular floor. And then once you're in that elevator, there aren't any there aren't any buttons on the inside. I mean, there's like emergency, that kind of thing, but you cannot pick a different floor. So whatever elevator you get on, that one is supposed to take you to where you're supposed to be. And I really enjoyed that because it doesn't necessarily stop at every single floor. So you know how sometimes kids get into the elevator and they just press all the buttons. You would never have to worry about that, right? That's not ever going to happen for you. Some people like it and then others don't, but it's supposed to be a way to control, how many people are on an elevator, and then also making it more efficient for the elevator to get to wherever it does need to go. So I did miss that, but if it's not something that you've ever experienced, then you won't miss it. It'll be just a normal day for you. Another thing that I liked is on the ship, if you were at the very back of the ship and you went and you were on the Lido deck and you went to like the middle where they were playing music and stuff. So if you have the area where you have the music and you have the area where you have the movie Under the Stars, you couldn't hear the movie that was playing from the area where the music was playing on the Lido deck, and vice versa. Each section that you went into, even though it was an outdoor space, and you would expect that you're going to be able to hear from one section to the other, you couldn't. And that was so amazing. And I really enjoyed that. Another good thing about Princess, the food. We had a couple of nights on our 15-night cruise that we didn't enjoy dinner, or where there was one night that we really didn't enjoy. Then there was another night that was just like meh, right? But for the most part, what you get from the buffet, what you get room service, what you get in the main dining room, the food was really good. We did not do any specialty dining, and didn't feel a need to, because the food was so good on Emerald. One thing that I would definitely suggest is you can pay, in the app if you don't get one of their packages, which I will talk to you all about some of their packages too. But if you decide that you want to order room service, go ahead and pay. I think it's $14.95 in the app, because you can order from the app. You can have food delivered to your room. You can have it delivered to you in other areas on the ship, and you're covered for your room service. Now they have a great selection of free items, and then there also are some items that will cost you. But if you feel like you're going to be doing room service a lot, day one, just go ahead, pay that fee, and then be able to get your food without a delivery fee. Now that doesn't include gratuities if you want to tip, but it definitely is a good deal, especially if you're going to be on the ship for a few days. Now let's talk about if you decide that you want a package with Princess. So it starts about $65 a day to get their Princess Plus package. And that is going to give you your gratuities, and it's also going to give you your your alcohol drinks, your drinks with alcohol, and also your specialty drinks. You also get some casual dinings with that as well that you would normally have to pay for. But you get some of those too with the plus. You also get Wi Fi. And it's not just Wi Fi for like 30 minutes or for one day, it's unlimited Wi Fi for one device. And so again, that's $65, depends on which ship you get on, and of course that can change. But if you make your purchase and you pay for the plus package, or if you book by a certain date, even if the rate were to increase, you wouldn't be impacted by that. But if you feel like you're going to, to drink If you like having that specialty coffee, if you like having, a specialty juice, if you're interested in those things, then, that cheaper package could really come in handy. And then they also have their Princess Premier package. It's about 100, between 90 and $100 per day, depending on the ship and everything. Which it will give you specialty dining, and it will give you your alcohol. The amount of each drink is a little bit higher, with the Princess Premier plan as well. Um, you get reserved seating for shows. So, and you get, if you get the Premier, you get, let me check. I think it's 4 devices, but let me check that real quick. Okay, so with the Premiere, you get 4 devices per guest. Now, I know you might think, well, that could be a little bit much, but if you're someone who, let's say that you work while you travel, or if you have several people in your party, with getting the 4 devices per guest, you can allow someone else in your cabin to use that, because only the first 2 people have to get the actual package. And so if you're doing that and you have 4 devices per guest, you might as well share it with someone else who's in your cabin. Um, and room service is included. Room service delivery is included on both packages. Your Ocean Now delivery, what I was talking to you about, of $14.95, that fee is waived for both of those packages, and you'll get unlimited specialty dining if you do the Premier, and you'll get unlimited casual dining if you do the Premier. So that's about $100 per day if you do pre-cruise. On board for this particular one, looks like it's 105 per day. Okay, and then for the Princess Plus, if you book it on board, it's $70 per day. $65 per day if you purchase it pre-cruise. With the Premier plan, you also get unlimited alcohol up to $20 each, unlimited for your cocktails, wine, beer, spirits, fountain drinks, zero alcohol cocktails. Those are all up to $20 each. And with the Plus plan, they could be up to $15 each. And of course, that's getting you your specialty coffees, your teas, unlimited, and then bottled water up to 12 bottles per day. So both of those plans, they pack a lot of value, because a lot of cruise companies will say, well, we'll give you free drinks or we'll give you free Wi-Fi. But if you look at their Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi is only 30 minutes. I don't know about you all, but 30 minutes for me would go by so fast that my head would probably spin. So this is a company that I would recommend getting the package, because it is just packed with so many awesome things that once you start piecemealing it, a la carting it, you're just going to end up spending a lot more money than what you have to. So that is another good thing with Princess. So with the crowd being an older crowd, I really enjoyed that. We had, even on our transatlantic cruise, we had some young kids and teenagers, but they were so well behaved. Like, you didn't even know that they were there until you just kind of looked up and just, saw them. And that was great, right? That's always great. And the people, they're older now. I'm 52, so I'm not, a spring chicken. um I'm also not one to stay out like super late. Like I'm pretty much in my cabin by 9 or 10 o'clock. But and that's okay, right? Up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Um and and it was just nice. I mean, I think Princess is the cruise line that you choose if you want things to just automatically just be nice, because things just are nice. But also, if you want a more calm, relaxed vacation. Um, and they have some amazing ports as well. And again, with this price, I can get you into an ocean view room at $410 per person. That does not include any packages. That does not include insurance. Insurance for this one, vacation insurance, is coming in at $31.98, which is not bad. Um, and if you need to get transfers, we can look at transfers. And they also have Princess Air. So with that, when you make your booking, you can also book your flight. Now, I have not ever combined the two. I always do my flights different from the cruise company, for a couple of reasons. Um, Number one, I kind of like for things to be separate, even though when I checked the pricing, the pricing was right on par with what the airline was giving. I feel like booking directly with the airline, if there is an issue, let's say a weather delay or something like that, I think they're more willing to work with you than if you're going through a third party. And that's just my feelings on it. It might all be the same, but so I kind of like dealing direct. Now, I will, book travel through like Expedia, and that is one of the partners that I'm actually working with as well. So I might get my airline through my flight through them, but I've just never, done the flight and the cruise all in one package. So um, it could save you some money. It could also, because you're able to book the flight and you don't have to pay for it until the final payment is due, which for this one is a $198 deposit. And then it has to be paid for in June. So, and that's really right around the corner. This selling is for September 2026. So you don't have a lot of time to, between the time that you book until the time that you actually sail, but it is still on a where you can make a deposit. And this particular offer that I have, the deposit, you can pay, you have up until April the 5th um, to make the deposit. So again, that's $198. Now, I have not sailed from Canada, but I did take a trip to Canada back in 2023. It was a sentimental trip for me. It was a my both of my fathers passed away within 30 days of each other, in July and August of 2022. And as that year anniversary was approaching, I realized that I could not go into every year around that time having this bad memory, because, I'm a daddy's girl. And I went from having two dads to having no dads. And, that it was very, very emotional. And I didn't want every year for that to be the only thing that was going on in my life. And so I decided to drive to Canada to see Niagara Falls. And I did. I started out the trip on a Sunday. It was one day before the 1 year anniversary of my biological father's passing. And I stopped and I visited his grave. And then I made my way to Canada. I stayed in Virginia and then drove up to um, St. Catharines um, in Canada, and stayed there for a couple of days, made my way back, stopped at Niagara Falls, stopped in Virginia again, spent the night, and then made my way back home. And I miss my dad's, and that time of year is always rough, but I can kind of not really balance, but I can go from the sad memories and I can go and look at pictures and videos of the good memories as well that I made. So Canada is beautiful. The people were extremely nice. They were so wonderful. And I did. I had a great time, and I would really like to go back, and I'm definitely going to do it once I get into RVing. So that's definitely going to be a trip that I'm going to take in an RV. I've also been to Los Angeles, and I've been to San Francisco. I have family who live in California, and so I was able to visit San Francisco, stay downtown at this cute boutique hotel. It was so cool. It did not have elevators. Listen, that is not the trip you want to take when you're, carrying a lot of luggage. Let me just say that. But the hotel and the room and the interior, it was so nice, and it was so old school. They had the radiator heater still, up on the wall, um, and it was brick. Like a lot of the interior was brick. It was so nice. I'm trying to find my pictures from that trip because I really would like to put them on YouTube as a throwback series. But um, the food in San Francisco or in California, period, is so clean. I mean, do you know what I mean? It just tastes so earthy and clean. Went to the Castro district, um, and just listen. I don't know. It's something about going out west. In the South, we have our Southern hospitality, right? Up north is New York, and then you have out west. And every time I travel out west, I meet the nicest people. Like, just the people are just so, like, homegrown and just so nice. And they don't really seem to have a whole lot of cares in the world. I don't know what it is about out west. um, but yeah, so I think that those stops would be great. And then, of course, starting out in Vancouver could be nice as well. And again, this rate is coming in at $410. And so I am going to do the word of the day. And it is going to be escape. So the word of the day is escape. So all you'll need to do if you want to get in on this deal is to send me an email to destinationswithdion@gmail.com. Put the word escape in the subject line, and I will send you the form to fill out. You get it back to me, I'll get you booked, and then you will receive a link to make your deposit, or if you want to make the full payment, you can. This deposit is non-refundable. So if you pay the $198, it is a non-refundable deposit. And again, that last payment is actually due in June. So I am about ending my time here this evening. I want to thank you all so much for joining. And if you are interested in this deal, please don't hesitate to reach out to me so that I can get this booked for you. And I'm not quite sure if I will be on this weekend or not. I might hop on Saturday. But, if you'd like to join, please do. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thank you all so much for joining. Have a good evening, travel safe, and don't forget, when fun is the destination, the possibilities are endless.